Data types are building blocks of programming. Learning about them is like getting to know your favorite actor on set. Array also comes under the same shadow. Well, we are here with another chapter. In this chapter, let's learn about something called arrays. Let's see some examples of arrays. Arranging books, you have a pile of books and a rack with multiple layers. Once all the books are arranged, you essentially create an array of elements. In this case, books. Contacts. We wish to save a contact number on our phone. The contact app on our phone contains a lot of contacts. They are stored in the form of an array. Bullet points mentioned here. All the points described here are in an ordered series, so essentially we create an array of 3 elements. Now look around you, you'll find more amazing arrays. Suppose we need to see the average temperature observed in a month. Ideally, you create 30 over 31 variables, scan each variable value, take the sum, and then average it out. Now consider if you have to average out the temperatures over 6 months or a year or more. It sounds crazy, right? To scan 365 or more values, operate on them, and give the result. Also, in practical applications, the data involved is huge. Arrays come to our rescue. Arrays are nothing but a collection of items of the same data type having a fixed size. In PHP, an array is a data structure that allows you to store multiple elements in a single variable. In fact, you can use an array whether there's a need to store a list of elements. Every letter in our array has a corresponding number known as an index number. You can use it to get access to the element value. Let's say you want to store car names without an array. You would end up creating multiple variables to store the different car names. On the other hand, if you use an array to store car names, it might look like this. As you can see, we've used the $array cars variable to store the different car names. One great thing about this approach is that you can add more elements to the array cars array variable later on. The important thing to note here is that an array index starts with 0. Whenever you add a new element to an array without specifying an index, the array assigns an index automatically. Awesome! Moving ahead to witness the power of arrays in PHP. PHP treats arrays a bit differently than you might be used to. In PHP, multiple kinds of arrays keep different data types. Here are 3 types of an array we can use in PHP. Index, numeric arrays, arrays with a numeric index. Associative arrays, arrays with named keys. Multidimensional arrays, arrays that hold one or more arrays. Let's bring the camera into focus. Each array separate rows. An index array or numeric array is an array that uses integers for its key. Indexes are assigned automatically to all elements in an array when no index is specified. This way, you can reference your values using their index number. Think of it as a bookmark for each element's value. The index has to start with a 0 and can only be a number. However, any type of value can be held. The original method to create an array is to use the array function. You specify the keyword array, immediately followed by parentheses. Inside the open and close parentheses, we specify a comma-separated list of values. In this case, the array index is automatically built, starting with 0 as the first element in the array. Of course, you could do the same manually, then it would look like this. Both array statements produce the same array called name with the values mentioned. Let's look at an example where we will print the values of an array. And the expected output will be the exact same for the echo. You are probably familiar with numerical indexed arrays if you've used any programming language, but unless you use PHP or Perl, you might not have seen associative arrays before. Associative arrays allow you to use more useful values as the index, rather than each element having a numeric index. It can have words or other meaningful information. Anyways, let's bring the associative arrays to the picture. The PHP associative arrays is different from index in that instead of integers, it uses string values for keys. There's no linear order, and the developer is free to assign a specific key to any value they stored in the PHP array they created. We link a key to a value with an equals, and greater than symbol. Each key must be unique to other keys, but can be the same as other values. Let's have a look at the syntax below. We can access elements in an associative array by using the indexer. Instead of the typical numerical index, we specify the key linked to the value that we want to access. What have we done here to bring associative arrays in our favor? Something crispy. Here our job was to access an associative array, and guess what tables are turned back to us. You have to use the array name along with the index of the element in square brackets. The only difference here is that the index will be a string, not a numeric value like an index array. You have entered a new dimension, or perhaps several. Let's say you went to buy a ticket at the ticket counter for a movie. There you found two separate queues. One is for males and the second one is for females. If there was only one queue, then it is called one dimension. As there is one more than one queue, it may be called multidimensional. Two dimensions in this case. So if there are multiple rows and multiple columns, then it is called multidimensional. You can think of it as a spreadsheet because there are a number of rows and columns available on the sheet. A multidimensional array is an array that stores another array at each index rather than storing a single value. In simple words, a multidimensional array is an array of an arrays. This way, you can create a two-dimensional array. The syntax declaration of 2D array is as follows. In the examples we've discussed so far, we've used scalar values as array elements. In fact, you can even store arrays as elements within the other arrays. This is the power of the multidimensional array. As you have already seen how to create an associative array and a multidimensional array being an array of arrays will hold the associative array inside it. As we are dealing with an array inside an array here, hence to access any information, we first need to reach that array, then get data from a particular array stored in the multidimensional array. Here, the sports key in the $employee array holds an array of sports. In the same way, the social media key holds an associative array of different profiles. You can also notice here the elements of a multi-dimensional array are accessed with the index or with the key of that element in each array part. The PHP for each loop functions in a similar way as the regular PHP for loop, but only works with arrays. If you try to use it on other types of variables, an error will occur. Following is the syntax of the for each loop in PHP. In every iteration, the value of the current array element will be assigned to value and the array pointer is moved by 1. The process repeats until the last array element is reached. Look at the example below. Here, the PHP for each loop is used to display every element in the $cards array. In the above example, four different brand names are stored in an array of variable cards. For each loop matches every key and then displays the output. Which of the loops do we use for which occasion? It really depends on the code we are working with at that time. As a general rule of thumb, we can use these loops for the following situations. A for loop is used when we know how many times the loop should run. A for each loop is used when we are working with the collections of items, such as arrays. That's all about arrays.